stories begin with training. Some begin with discipline, years of sweat, and countless hours of preparation. But this story begins with silence. The silence of a woman who never sought the spotlight, never asked for attention, and never believed she would etch her name into history with a single shot. Tonight, on Epic Story Hub, we step into her world. A world where distance and time blurred into one unforgettable moment. Her name was Mara Keene. Born in a small mountain town, Mara grew up surrounded by vast open spaces where the horizon stretched endlessly. Her father was a park ranger, her mother a school teacher. To most people, Mara's life looked simple. She spent her days hiking trails, sketching landscapes, and reading old books by candlelight when storms cut the power. But from an early age, Mara carried an uncanny ability. Her vision was unlike anyone else's. By the time she was 10, she could read the numbers on a water tower half a mile away. By 12, she could spot the movement of a hawk against the clouds before anyone else even noticed. Her father joked she had the eyes of a falcon, but even he didn't realize how deep the gift went. That gift was tested one autumn afternoon when Mara picked up her uncle's hunting rifle. The steel felt cold in her hands, heavy and strange. But her eyes locked on a target, a soda can nearly 600 yards away, half hidden in the grass. She steadied her breath, aimed, and squeezed the trigger. The can toppled. Her uncle's jaw dropped. He set up another target farther, and another. Each time she struck clean, without hesitation. Word spread quietly in the family. Mara was not just good, she was beyond explanation. But instead of pushing her forward, her parents pulled her back. "Gifts like that attract attention," her mother whispered, "and attention attracts danger." For years, Mara lived in restraint. She studied, worked odd jobs, and blended into the rhythm of her small town. But extraordinary can only stay hidden for so long. At 23, Mara enlisted in the reserves, not out of ambition but necessity. Her family needed money. She never bragged about her vision or her aim. But during a routine drill, when she casually struck a distant target that even her superiors struggled with, whispers began. Soon, higher-ranking officers were calling her name. Her precision stunned instructors. She could shoot calmly, her pulse steady, her breathing unbroken, as though the rifle was an extension of her being. One evening, while the others laughed around the barracks fire, an instructor approached her. His tone was quiet, his words heavy. "You realize what you're capable of, don't you?" Mara shrugged. "I can see." "That's all?" "No," he corrected. "You can do more than see. You can change the very limits of what's possible." The months that followed were grueling. She was tested, pushed, and placed under conditions meant to break her concentration. Wind, rain, moving targets, endless distances. But Mara never faltered. And when her superiors realized what they had, they made a decision. She would attempt something that no soldier, no sniper, no human had ever done before. A shot so far, so impossible that it bordered on myth. The announcement came on a crisp winter morning. Mara stood on the edge of a high desert plateau, the sun glaring off the endless stretch of sand and stone. Around her were officials, scientists, and seasoned military snipers. Men who had trained their whole lives, their faces lined with skepticism. No one believed she could do it. The record for the longest confirmed shot already seemed beyond human. To break it by the margin they proposed was insanity, but Mara didn't flinch. She simply adjusted the strap of her rifle and asked, "Where's the target?" The target was a steel plate, painted bright white, positioned at an unfathomable distance across the barren expanse. Even through binoculars, it looked like a dot. Wind currents twisted the air. Heat shimmered on the horizon. It wasn't just difficult, it was nearly impossible. The Navy SEALs had come to watch. Special Forces operatives from around the world stood in silence, waiting to see her fail. Cameras rolled, ready to document the collapse of an untrained dreamer. Mara lay down, her cheek against the stock of the rifle, and let the world narrow to a circle of glass. Her breath slowed. Her heartbeat softened. She calculated the wind, the drag, the angle of the earth beneath her. Minutes passed. The crowd grew restless. Then, her finger squeezed. The rifle cracked like thunder. The sound rolled across the plateau, echoing into the distance. For a moment, nothing happened. The silence stretched thin, everyone holding their breath. And then, faint but undeniable, the distant clang of bullets striking steel rang out across the desert. The crowd gasped. Even the SEALs muttered under their breath, one shot. One impossible hit, and then Mara did it again and again. Each strike rang true, each one echoing across the distance like proof that the laws of limitation had just been rewritten. When she finally set down the rifle, the plateau was silent. Men who had dedicated their lives to the art of precision shooting stared at her as though she were something other than human. The record was shattered. The impossible had been made real, but Mara didn't smile. She didn't celebrate, for in her heart, she knew this was only the beginning. Records are not broken without consequence, and her shot had been too perfect, too unbelievable. Somewhere in the crowd, eyes were already calculating what could be done with someone like her. The shot had made her a legend. But legends are never safe. The desert plateau still echoed with the memory of her impossible shot. Mara Keene had not just broken the record, she had obliterated it. Yet as the crowd of soldiers, commanders, and officials erupted in stunned whispers, she felt no pride, no victory. She only felt the weight of eyes, watchful, calculating, dangerous. That night, back in the temporary compound, Mara sat alone. Her rifle rested in its case, silent now, as though it too understood the storm that was coming. She thought of her mother's words years ago. Gifts like that attract attention, and attention attracts danger. Those words now pulsed in her ears. The following morning, she was summoned to a briefing room. Inside sat men in crisp suits, their faces unreadable. They did not wear uniforms, but their presence radiated authority. On the table before them lay documents stamped classified. One of them, an older man with silver hair, leaned forward. "You understand what you've done?" he asked. "I broke a record," Mara replied softly. The man's eyes narrowed. "You changed the game. What you accomplished today was not just sport, it was history. And history has consequences." He slid a folder toward her. Inside were photographs, not of targets but of people. High-value individuals, leaders, figures whose removal could alter the balance of global power. Mara's stomach turned as she realized what they were asking. "No," she whispered, pushing the folder back. "I didn't do this for war." The man's expression hardened. "You don't get to decide. Talent like yours doesn't belong in a bookstore or on a mountain trail. It belongs here. It belongs to us." For weeks, Mara resisted. She trained under watchful eyes, her every move documented, every shot analyzed. Rumors spread that foreign governments had already heard of her feat. Whispers of agents lurking in the shadows reached her ears. She was no longer free. She was an asset, a weapon. The Navy SEALs who had once mocked her now treated her with a strange reverence. Some respected her, others feared her. But all of them knew one truth: she had done what none of them could. Then came the night that changed everything. Mara was transported under cover of darkness to a remote location. No explanations, no briefings, only orders. When she asked where they were going, silence met her. When the vehicle finally stopped, she found herself at another plateau, this one surrounded by armed guards and humming machinery. In the distance stood another target. But this time it wasn't steel. It was a drone, moving unpredictably in the night sky, nearly invisible to the naked eye. "Hit it," the silver-haired man commanded. Mara hesitated. The distance was beyond reason. The target was mobile, nearly impossible to track. But they didn't care. To them, this was the next record. She lay down, her body cold against the earth. The scope framed only darkness. She steadied her breath, listened to the wind, and waited. When the drone cut across the horizon, she pulled the trigger. The crack echoed. Seconds later, a fireball lit the night as the drone disintegrated in midair. The crowd erupted. Some cheered. Some stood in shocked silence. Mara rolled onto her back, staring at the stars. She felt nothing but dread. Word of her feat spread like wildfire. Headlines screamed across the world. Civilian shatters distance shooting record. Military forums buzzed. Foreign governments demanded answers. Who was this woman? Was she real or propaganda? Conspiracies flourished. But behind the noise, something darker unfolded. Mara began receiving letters slipped under her door. No sender, no signature, just warnings. They will use you until you break. Records are not victories. They are chains. Run before it's too late. Mara tried to ignore them, but one night, as she returned to her quarters, she found her door ajar. Inside, the room was untouched except for one thing. Her rifle, dismantled, every piece arranged neatly on the bed. Atop it lay a single note. "You're not the only one watching through the scope." Fear gripped her. She realized she wasn't just a prodigy anymore. She was a target. The weeks that followed became a blur of paranoia. She was moved constantly between bases. She was told little, shown less. Each new shot was harder, stranger, more impossible. And with each one, she felt her freedom slipping further away. One night, as she prepared for another test, she finally broke. She confronted the silver-haired man. "You don't own me," she said, her voice shaking. "I broke a record. That doesn't mean I'm your weapon." He stared at her for a long time before speaking. "Records are not about glory, Mara. They're about power. And power doesn't belong to the one who holds the rifle. It belongs to the one who gives the order." His words cut deep. But in that moment, Mara made her choice. She would not let them define her. She would not let them use her gift to shape wars and rewrite nations. If her shot had made her a legend, then her next move would make her free. That night, under the cover of darkness, Mara vanished. She left behind the rifle, the compound, the chains of expectation. And though the world searched, though governments whispered her name in classified halls, Mara Keene disappeared into the silence from which she had come. Some say she lives quietly now, in the mountains, far from the eyes of men who would use her. Others claim she is still out there, somewhere in the world, watching through a scope, unseen, waiting. But one truth remains. She broke the distance shooting record. She did the impossible. And sometimes, the greatest shot is not the one that makes history, but the one that allows you to walk away from it. Her story, like her gift, lingers at the edge of belief. A mystery that silenced even those who thought they had seen it all. And here, on Epic Story Hub, her legend remains.